Now that's what I'm talking about. Yellowjackets season 3 episode 4 is by far the best episode of the season. It does have some flaws, and we're going to get into all of that, but I have some interesting theories. Just stay tuned, and we're going to talk about everything in this episode. And let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you definitely hit that like button. Come on, man. Show me some love. So let's get right into it, because we pick up right where episode 3 left off, where Coach Ben is going back to, the rest of the girls and whatnot to be put on trial. They come up with this idea that they're going to hold trial. Shauna wants him automatically executed off rip, but Natalie's like, no, that's not how we're gonna do it. We gotta do this right. But where she fucked up at is deciding the vote on 2/3 or whatnot and not doing majority. We're gonna get into that. On the flip side, we see in present day, Shauna's going to a mechanic to see what happened to her car. She's thinking that somebody cut the brakes, but no, it's like the brake booster, whatever, was pretty much shot. So this kind of is a theme, an overall theme for the episode. Lottie leaves a bank for some odd reason. We're gonna get into Lottie this episode because very interesting things going on with that. Taissa calls Lottie and says maybe you were right about the forest and it calling out to us, something like that. I'm probably misquoting, but going back to the wilderness, real quick, we see that Nakia tells Lottie about her visions. Now we know that Travis has an odd connection. Lottie also has an odd connection, and now Nakia. So everybody's being affected in certain ways by this place. But now, Misty is in charge of defending Coach, and they have a really great moment. Coach has a great moment in this whole entire episode. We're going to get into that as well. Jeff is feeling like this is bad karma, so he's trying to do whatever he can to gain some good karma. Now, on to this Taissa and Van storyline. It's just really losing me at this point, because they start off, it starts off kind of interesting, but then we'll get into my overall thoughts, but they end up taking like a deck of cards, and they think that doing the same kind of ritual they were doing in the wilderness to kind of see what the wilderness wants. They try to pick somebody off in the wild, and somebody picks up this card, and then they start to follow them. Going back to the wilderness, we get to my favorite moments of this episode is the actual trial, like them questioning Mari first, and you definitely see where Taissa definitely has that political kind of thing down that plays into her present day, and she's pretty much the prosecutor in this sense. But that this whole trial gets really, really interesting as it goes along. So then it cuts to Shauna and Jeff having to do volunteer work at Misty's job, and they try to avoid contact with Misty, but Misty already sees that that they're there, and so she takes joy in seeing Shauna like this, that she can't take accountability. She doesn't want to apologize, so she puts her on tapioca duty while Jeff works bingo. So going back to the trial, though, in the wilderness, I really like how Misty presses Shauna about burning down the cabin, because now it makes me want to rewatch the season 2 finale to see actually how it kind of played out. But she really put a lot of pressure on Shauna, and I feel like ever since the wilderness, they've had this animosity between each other. Van and Taissa continue to follow this guy while Jeff is having too much fun doing getting his good karma by entertaining the old folks by doing bingo and cracking jokes. He's pretty much like a stand-up comedian. And Misty ends up seeing a note from Walter. Keep in mind, we're gonna go back to that Walter's presence is definitely still around, even though we don't see him. Interesting. So Misty goes to check up on Shauna to make sure she's doing her job, and she seems to be enjoying it a little bit too much. And then she gets this idea to stab Shauna. She just thinks about it, but then ends up kind of coming to her senses. She just only thinks about it. I don't think she'll ever do it. Or maybe that is foreshadowing for something in a later season. Who knows? Let me know how you guys feel about that. The next scene we get is with Lottie kind of talking to herself, trying to like apologize for something, but that is a very important scene and the last time that we see adult Lottie. Which then it transitions into younger Lottie in the wilderness and her being on the stand. But what's interesting and where Misty and Nat kind of slipped up at is Shauna remembers that Misty knew something about Nat holding off on this secret. And then we cut back to present day Shauna being trapped in the freezer with Jackie. Really interesting scene here. But back to Taissa and Van, where it seemed like they were plotting to kill this guy and end up getting cold feet. And Taissa says, hey, I got a plan B. Meet me XYZ. Let's go to this other spot. And now, going back to the trial, this is where things really get interesting as Taissa calls Nat out on lying, knowing about Coach's whereabouts. And this kind of really puts Coach at a disadvantage, and it really hurts his case. Back in present day, Jeff is continuously having a ball while, Shauna is having a whole conversation with Jackie, and Jackie saying like, this is always fate. This is how it's supposed to be. This is how you're supposed to end up. But good thing that old boy noticed that she was banging on the freezer door. She was able to get out, and of course she automatically blames Misty. I think it's Walter. I think Walter is just kind of leaving breadcrumbs and has been plotting this whole time. I think he had something to do with the breaks. I know I'm not the only one that thinks that. So now we get probably the best scene of the episode where Ben is now on the stand and he's pleading his case, and he lets it be known like, I actually care about y'all. Like, if I wanted to fuck y'all over, I would have done it a long time ago. And he just gives this really, he just pours his heart out to all of them. He's like, I love y'all. You guys are underdogs, and that's why I kind of I didn't at first respect what y'all were doing, but now I kind of see the way. He's pretty much doing anything at this point to kind of save his ass, but I definitely think that what he said was genuine. Then going back to present day Shauna and Jeff, Shauna decides to get a cat that looks like the missing cat and lie to the family pretty much. You just really see how shitty of a person Shauna is in the wilderness and how she is in her adult life. Then the Van storyline and Taissa thing kind of caps off with them getting a pretzel, but then Taissa noticed that Van, it starts shaking and maybe her cancer is coming back and maybe they need to sacrifice somebody for it to stop. And I do predict that Van is not making it out this season. Let me know how you guys feel about that. Now we finally get to the voting process, and this is where Nat really fucked up, because if she would have done majority rules, Ben would have been a free man right now. But because she chose to do the 2/3 thing, that shit just became a headache. And then this is where Shauna steps in and takes control and forces people's hands. And now Ben is on the chopping block because of that. And Melissa's like, look, see, that is power. And I think Shauna is going to feed off of that and take advantage. Now we get to the end of the episode where Misty starts to do her detective work a little bit, gets a text message from Walter saying, I heard about Lottie. Are you okay? And we see Lottie's body. And this is a shocker because it's like Lottie is just dead. And I feel like Walter has something to do with that. He's trying to take out all our different characters one by one in the love for in the sake of his feelings for Misty. He feels like he's probably doing her a favor by getting rid of these people, and this is not going to go over well with Shauna and Callie now, because now that's going to cause an even bigger rift. Callie, I could see blaming Shauna for kicking her out, and if she never kicked her out, she would have still been alive. Overall, really enjoyed this episode for the most part. Like I said, I still don't like the whole Van and Thais's storyline. I feel like it's gone nowhere, but everything with Misty and Shauna was cool. Let me know how you guys feel about this episode. Till next time, I'm out.